President Trump could do that if the economy falls off a cliff. Instead of asking the Fed to do QE and the government indebting itself even more, they would have a windfall. Let's say at $4,200, it would be $1 trillion windfall. Isn't that much, right? But if they revalued gold to 20,000, that would be a $5 trillion windfall, and with no QE needed. That's one way to look at the gold revaluation. So that's why I think gold revaluation could be very close, and I think things are getting very interesting. Big correction in the stock market.
Gold is trading around $4,055 an ounce, silver near $49.35, and both metals have just blasted past their highest levels in modern history, with gold briefly surging above $4,300 and silver touching $52 before pulling back. Global markets are rattled, central banks are hoarding metal, and economist Mario Innecco says this isn't a normal rally. It's the early warning of a full-scale monetary reset. He believes Donald Trump could soon deploy a radical but historic move, revalue America's gold reserves to stabilize the collapsing economy. Instead of another round of Fed money printing or trillions in new debt, Trump could simply reprice the nation's gold from $42.22 per ounce to as high as $20,000, instantly generating up to $5 trillion in new value, all without a single new loan or dollar of inflation. It sounds shocking, but Roosevelt did something similar in 1934, raising the official gold price from $20.67 to $35 and using the profit to fund the New Deal. Now, with record deficits, rising defaults, and a credit system straining under its own weight, Mario Innecco warns that history could repeat, not as an echo, but as policy. Gold's explosive breakout past $4,300 wasn't random. It was a signal. Silver's move above $52 wasn't a fluke. It was a warning. According to Mario, these are the first tremors of a global reset that will redefine what money really means.
Revaluing gold could be a way to bring the economy back from kind of a bad recession, and that's been done before. It was done back in 1933-34 by Roosevelt in the depths of the Great Depression. He, of course, did it a bit differently because back then gold was part of the monetary system, so he had to kind of force people, gold confiscation, bring in all the gold and make it illegal. And then in 1934 he revalued it from $20.67 to $35, and that windfall was used for all the government spending and the New Deal. Yeah, of course, I don't believe in that government intervention. That's Keynesian and even socialist. And it's ironic, isn't it, that President Trump could do that if the economy falls off a cliff, instead of asking the Fed to do QE and the government indebting itself even more. They would have a windfall. Let's say at $4,200, it would be $1 trillion windfall. Isn't that much, right? But if they revalued gold to 20,000, that would be a $5 trillion windfall, and with no QE needed. That's one way to look at the gold revaluation. The other thing that could happen, and one of my friends told me this recently, is that the Supreme Court is going to make a ruling. I don't know when it is, but it could be any time, that the tariffs are unconstitutional, and that would put the cats amongst the pigeons. It would lead to a massive, correction in the stock market as well. It would lead to the Treasury having to reimburse hundreds of billions in tariffs that importers have paid. It would, ruin Trump's program. The deficit would rise. So, gold revaluation would be like the only thing left for him to do. And some people might say, oh, this is you gold bugs talking about this, but and that you're wishing this and that's never going to happen. But it's happened 4 times in history. 1835, Andrew Jackson revalued gold from, I think, $19.39 to $20.69. 1934, President Roosevelt revalued from 2067 to 35. And in 72, President Nixon revalued from 35 to 38. And then the year after, he revalued it from 38 to 42.22, which is where we are right now. And that's only worth $11.1 billion. So, yeah, 100 times that to 4,000 would be, of course, 1.01 trillion. So that's why I think gold revaluation could be very close. And I think, things are getting very interesting. And what else is going on in terms of, let's say the UK, my viewers in the UK and the budget? Well, it's not going to be any good, is it? They only seem to be like the Labour government. They're like a hammer, and everything to them seems like a nail. And the hammer, of course, is taxes. They don't think about cutting the size of government, cutting taxes. But again, they can't, because the backbenchers, they want all the government spending because the people who voted for them, that's what they want. And therein lies the problem with democracy. People vote so that politicians can take from Peter to pay them Paul, right? And that's why I think voting is the worst thing you can do. And what do I mean by that? Well, if everyone boycotted elections, they would have no legitimacy to politicians. And they'd have to do something that would actually be useful to the people, like protecting their private property and the rule of law, because that's what governments should do. They shouldn't be raiding your private property. And I think that's the whole problem in the West with socialism, even fascism, big government intervention, bailouts. That's the destruction of the rule of law and private property. And that's why our economies are in such bad state. That's why we have so much debt. So there's an old saying, I think, by the Stoics, who said that democracy is a polite way of allowing the slaves to think that they're running things. So, boycott all these elections. Does it get better? It doesn't really matter what side of the, what red or blue, who we elect. It doesn't seem to matter. So that's the way I see things. Focus on yourself, your family, your friends, community, and try not to get too bogged down with what's going on in the world. You need to know what's going on to protect yourself, and hold on to your gold and silver for dear life and keep accumulating it, because it's not going to get better. Since the beginning of the year, mainly because in January we found out that a lot of physical gold was flowing back to the U.S. over, I think, 400 tons, and it could have been more. And a lot of people speculate that and it started in December, and people speculate that with Trump coming into power, that he would have to bring the gold back to do an audit of Fort Knox, and then revalue the gold, and that's highly possible. I think there's still a lot of gold flowing into the U.S. Whether there's 8,133.5 metric tons, or about 261 million troy ounces in the Treasury vaults, it is questionable, but I think it's something people will I think they'll do it, though. Even Judy Shelton, who I've had on the channel, who's written a book, Good as Gold, which I've also talked about here, in which she says they should start issuing Treasury bonds backed by gold that could be redeemable at maturity by gold, and that would have like a call option on the price of gold. So it would kind of put a straitjacket, hopefully, on government spending. She thinks that we need an audit, and she thinks revaluation would be a good thing. So why did I say I think revaluation is closer than most people might think? Well, I think there's a few things hanging over the economy, the financial system, the government shutdown. I saw that it's now affecting internal domestic flights in the U.S. It could affect international flights as well, because the federal agencies don't have the money to pay for the flight controls, or the people who do all the controls for the flights. And I heard that hundreds of flights have been canceled. That's going to affect everything. And the federal government, of course, funds a lot of programs in all aspects and sectors of the economy. That's draining liquidity from everything, less people getting paid. And that's why I think the stock market is wobbly a little bit. And we've also seen a problem in the credit market with the shadow banking.
Mario Innecco lays it out with brutal logic. The U.S. Treasury still values its gold at $42.22 an ounce, a number frozen since the early 1970s. With roughly 261 million troy ounces reported, that's just $11 billion on paper, almost nothing compared to today's multi-trillion-dollar deficits. But change that price, and everything changes. At $4,200, the Treasury's gold becomes $1 trillion. At $20,000, it jumps to $5 trillion, an instant balance sheet fix that doesn't require borrowing, taxes, or QE. Mario calls it the cleanest bailout in history. No printing presses, no foreign creditors, just an accounting reset that acknowledges gold's real market value. And history supports it. 1835, Andrew Jackson revalued gold to strengthen the dollar. 1934, Roosevelt revalued to fund the New Deal. 1972 and 1973, Nixon repegged and then cut gold loose from the dollar, reshaping the global order. In Mario's view, Trump could soon follow that playbook, especially if the Supreme Court rules certain tariffs unconstitutional, which could wipe hundreds of billions from federal revenue and hammer the stock market. A revaluation would give Washington an emergency lifeline, a way to recapitalize the system without issuing more debt. He also notes growing reports of physical gold returning to U.S. vaults, over 400 tons since late 2024, possibly in preparation for a Fort Knox audit. Even economist Judy Shelton, aligned with Trump's camp, has floated gold-backed Treasury bonds, redeemable in bullion, to restore trust and discipline spending. But Mario's warning goes deeper. Silver is the system's real weak link. He calls it the Achilles heel of the paper monetary order. Silver isn't just precious, it's essential. It powers solar panels, electric vehicles, semiconductors, and defense systems. Yet decades of leveraged shorting and derivative manipulation have kept its price artificially low. Now, with global inventories shrinking and industrial demand surging, the paper-silver market is cracking. The LBMA and COMEX registered stocks have plunged to multi-decade lows. Once confidence in paper claims vanishes, Mario predicts a violent repricing, where physical silver premiums skyrocket and digital spot prices scramble to catch up. Meanwhile, the macro backdrop looks dire. A government shutdown is choking liquidity. Shadow bank failures and commercial real estate defaults are spreading. Banks' reserve ratios are sinking. And the Federal Reserve is trapped between inflation and insolvency. Cut rates too far, and inflation roars back. Keep them high, and the debt pyramid collapses. In that corner, Mario says, a gold revaluation becomes Trump's only remaining card. The move that could recapitalize the government, rebuild global confidence, and reprice the dollar's foundation overnight. He adds that the latest rallies, gold pushing above $4,300 and silver breaking $52, aren't speculative spikes. They're the market front-running a monetary reset. Big money already sees it coming. The public doesn't. Not yet.
Companies that have collapsed out of the blue, like First Brands, what's the other one? Tricolor, and there could be many others. And Commercial real estate is still not out of the woods. We've seen that banking reserves are dropping to very low levels, mainly because of this liquidity and the government shutdown. But I saw that the Senate, the Democrats offered a deal to stop the shutdown. I think it was to extend benefit payments or something that Trump, the Republicans, wanted to cut for a year, and the Republicans rejected that. So it will be interesting to see what happens on Monday when the markets reopen. Because I think the rally at the end of the day yesterday was because people thought there would be a deal, but it doesn't look like there is, or maybe there is. You can comment below. So back to gold revaluation. Yeah, that could really damage the economy. The stock market crashing, the economy is running on the stock market. Even President Trump said that the economy is also booming because of AI. All the AI data centers that, how does that help the bottom 50? They don't really work in these data centers. And AI is contributed to more than half of GDP growth recently in the US in the second quarter, I think. So it's an economy that even Jay Powell, in his latest FOMC press conference, noted that there's two economies, one at the top where people are benefiting from AI and asset price inflation, and the other one where the bottom 50 are suffering, that they're having the cost of living going up. And I think that's why that guy in New York won that election, the mayoral election. I'm not saying I agree with him. I don't really know much about him, but I've seen a lot of bad stuff. And it's probably true, but he focused on, people having a tough time.
Mario Innecco's message to investors is blunt and urgent. Hold on to your gold and silver for dear life. Keep accumulating, because it's not going to get better before it gets worse. He argues the West's model of endless debt, bailouts, and political manipulation is collapsing under its own weight. Whether it's Republicans or Democrats, the outcome is the same: more borrowing, more inflation, less real wealth. That's why he urges everyone to own real money, physical gold and silver. Not paper claims, not ETFs, the real thing. He also warns viewers not to be distracted by political theater. The system itself is broken. The only real hedge is independent wealth that governments can't print or seize. So now it's your turn. If Trump truly revalues gold, will it save America's economy or destroy global faith in the dollar? And when the reset comes, will silver finally outperform gold, or will gold remain the ultimate anchor? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The sharpest insights might be featured in our next video. If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dive updates on gold, silver, and the coming monetary reset. Stay alert, stay informed, and as Mario Innecco always says, keep stacking real wealth while you still can.